Satnam everyone. In today's healing video, I would like to talk about the energies of December 2018. This is the last month of the 11 year. Now, there are two guides that would like to come forward. And the first guide is Green Tara. You can feel the energy of her presence. And the other energy is Lakshmi. So these two guides, they are a part of the matriarchal paradigm. Now, we have a patriarchal paradigm, which we are currently in right now, and we have a matriarchal paradigm. And they're very much a tag team. We learn from the patriarchal age, as well as the patriarchal age learns from the matriarchal design. So what's happening right now, particularly moving into 2019, even 2020, that's when it's really becoming a new path. 2020 is the patriarchal identity, or the Ida, is being brought into its conclusion. I'll say that. So what does that mean? For a lot of us women, the guides such as Green Tara and Lakshmi, what they are doing is they are heightening our senses, our sense of being a woman. Because as we know intuitively, women hold the caliber. Men are created from the caliber that is their mother, or we could say the nervous system of the mother. So when a nervous system of a woman is very much insecure, imbalanced, lacking support of self, say self-love or belief in self, self-esteem, self-worth, basically the caliber for men becomes very insecure, Ida, okay, which is like the ego, very insecure, very imbalanced, Ida, and very unsupportive of self, and basically a self-esteem that is not authentic, okay? So, Green Tara and Lakshmi, this matriarchal paradigm that we have experienced on this planet Earth, and we are slowly beginning to discover this, like we are all archaeologists and we're digging through the ancient past through meditation and through Kundalini yoga. We are digging through our very fibers, our very muscles and tissues and energy field, and we are discovering this matriarchal paradigm that we could say was before the Ice Age, we could say. And then Ice Age came and we became what, quote unquote, cavemen. Cavemen. So, cavemen, okay? So, basically, the energies of 2018, December, the 11 year, we have this final Jupiter energy. We have a new moon in Sagittarius, and I want to focus on the Jupiter because Jupiter is one of the most magnetic planets, and magnetism is very much the matriarchal paradigm. So instead of being weak, such as a weak nervous system because, we're insecure, we were bred to be insecure, imbalanced, we have lack support, self-worth, self-esteem, discipline, commitment, those kinds of things. Basically, our magnetism is too weak to actually draw to us what we need and want for our destiny. So through that patriarchal setup, imbalanced and insecure, basically we had to hustle, we had to hassle, okay, because we just didn't have the energy. We didn't have the reserve of energy to actually obtain the things that we need in a magnetic way. So these are ancient teachings that have been lost, and even to this day, there are some cultures that do not want these ancient teachings of magnetism to come back. Because when we become magnetic, we become very electromagnetically strong and impenetrable. So that's kind of what we say the sovereign mind in invincible living is you're impenetrable when it comes to your auric field. And when you're impenetrable, then we are very much a consolidated being that is oneself. A lot of us are not ourselves because our aura is weak, and a lot of stuff is leaking into us, such as the environments that we come into, and then we're in these circumstances, in these situations, and basically we're affected by it, we're impacted by it, we absorb it, and we then become it, sort of thing. So what Green Terra and Lakshmi is preparing us for with this 11 Jupiter is very much about fortune, about blessing yourself, and it's also about expanding your perception. So the years leading up to now, we could say we've experienced a lot of emotional bankruptcy, as Yogi Bhajan would say. So a lot of emotions that say kind of wanky. We feel wanky. The last couple of years we felt maybe quite imbalanced, particularly for women, because a lot of the planet's unresolved stench from the patriarchal unresolved junk is coming up through the woman. A lot of, as well as through men as well, but particularly through women, because it has to, because women hold the space for the next generation, not men. It is the woman. So all of the emotions of feeling stagnant, feeling like emotionally depressed, or emotionally insecure in the way of you felt you were in environments in childhood that was hostile or aggressive, or you didn't get the things you wanted or needed from your parent to really thrive and to feel nourished. So basically, a lot of emotions is being released out of the woman, and we are releasing it through the channels of our Green Terra or the Lakshmi. We're releasing it through this matriarchal paradigm within us, okay? And simply what that means is, we could say the word purging, detoxifying. In order for us to create filters within our perceptions that are very much magnetically or vibrationally aligned with the direction that this planet wants to go into, such as the Aquarian age that we are really entering in this 2024, 2000 upper 30, it's 2030, okay? So we're in the early phases of what we call this feminine awakening. Now, this isn't feminist, or this isn't like a feminist, let's all, walk around with our tops off and be naked and, just have sex and sex. No, okay. And that's not even really a part of the feminist. It's kind of a twisted version of that. But, basically, all of our twisted fantasies, our kind of twisted realities, our twisted distortions that have us divided as a planet, as humanity, that has us separate and unable to relate. Okay, all of that is coming up, and we are unknotting ourselves through the emotional body, because a lot of the knots that are creating this division within cultures can't relate to each other, which is very low intelligence. You can't relate to each other's very, very low intelligence level. So basically, we're unknotting this emotional body, which is the heart chakra. For a lot of us in this patriarchal experiment, we felt very much we could not be ourselves. We felt very vulnerable. So a lot of us, we closed down this heart because things got secret in the way that it got kind of foul or disgraceful or just overall distasteful. And we know that feeling of just something just feels distasteful. This person is just kind of distasteful, or this thing that we're doing is just not very, it's just distasteful. So a lot of that, being a part of that paradigm, a lot of us, particularly as women, we had to like shut down our hearts. So we shrunk our hearts like the Grinch, like 3 sizes too small or 2 sizes too small. So the center of our electromagnetic expansion is at the heart center, which is our emotional body. So a lot of us are having what we call these conflicting emotions. So we're struggling with emotions. Emotions are high, emotions are low, emotions are trying to navigate through the emotional bankruptcy or this emotional kind of mayhem that we have collectively in the woman genetic because of this whole lineage of just not connecting with the heart chakra because of feeling you can't. So you have to numb it, you have to oppress it. So basically with this heart awakening inside of us, the many chambers, we could say, of emotions, many chambers of the emotions, is also unlocking the many facets of the mind. Okay, so it's very much the heart is the energy that gives to the mind energy it needs to unlock its potential. So it's very interesting. They say the head in the heart, human is balanced. When the heart is in the head, human tends to be what we call division, low intelligence. We don't know how to relate to each other. We are kind of caught in our own paradigm and unable to perceive beyond that to create a understanding or innovation that can improve one's own sort of paradigm. So with women, bringing the head into the heart, that's what we do through meditation. That's what Green Tara and Lakshmi represents. The mind becomes karuna. It becomes compassion. And when the heart becomes the mind and the heart, integrated, grounded in the heart, we are compassion, we are karuna, then our intelligence can begin to nourish. It can begin to thrive, it can evolve, it can expand. So the Jupiter energy, this Jupiter is very much like, we could say, this beautiful scenery we see of Lakshmi and the sun and the water. It is very graceful, it is very secure in oneself. It is very creative and bountiful, blissful, peaceful. So this Jupiter energy is encouraging us to keep our heart awakened, keep our heart open. That doesn't mean that we are open and vulnerable. That's where we work on our electromagnetic field, because our heart is the center of our mind's nourishment, really, or our mind's compassion, so we don't get into the mental struggle where everything is divided. This is divided and it's in this compartmentalized division and separate and confusing. Okay, so through that compassion, which represents the unification of the mind, body, and spirit of the heart center, we can begin to move forward with a sense of purposeful motion, which the patriarchal age kind of lost its purposeful motion in the wanky sort of things of just being solely in the mind with a very disjointed or shriveled up kind of heart energy. So this Jupiter, when it comes to our own personal lives, is giving us the blessing, but we must continue to bless ourselves. So it's giving us the blessing when it comes to our creative endeavors, our creative entrepreneurships, our creative expression. Overall, the Jupiter is wanting to support any sort of expansion you're wanting to have in your life. Okay, any sort of knowledge you're wanting to gain that can help you to reach your destiny, Jupiter very much wants to help that. Because Sagittarius, Jupiter ruling Sagittarius, which is this new moon, Sagittarius is all about gaining knowledge, gaining richness of experience that evolves you into a human that is able to connect and to include and care for the many cultures, the many ideologies. So we are getting clear of all of that icky, stinky stench that is the patriarchal part of us that just feels in a rut, feels stagnant, is doing things with the ida that is not genuine or not authentic, and creating this power that is not true power, because the power does not know how to relate to others. The power does not know how to be authentic, or the power does not know how to navigate this reality or create a reality that is graceful and that gives to the community a purposeful destiny. Okay? Purposeful destiny is not mayhem. Okay? And it is not hassling, hustling, slave, stuff like that. Okay? So, with the energies moving forward in 2019, everything that is lacking taste, okay, lacking richness, because Jupiter's all about, we are richness in our aura. So anything that is not that, it's going to become very transparent. So moving forward, it is a game of magnetism, okay? It is not a game of who can, who can lie the longest, or who can be sneaky the longest, or whatever that game is. It's going to be more so who has the leadership that can bring us into a purposeful motion. Not let's just be unresolved, angry, feeling lackluster with life, complacent. We want to experience a purposeful motion with our creativity, with our growth and development, and our overall maturity. So the maturity of our lives directly has to do with the heart. So that's why you see Green Terra and Lakshmi, they are very high reverent beings, because they have such a mature emotional body. So when our heart is not mature, when it's like sinking in the stench of like our anger and our shame and our blame and our just victimization and all of that energy, basically we cannot possibly experience our purposeful motion in that state of mind. Okay, so with the expansion of the heart, the awakening of the heart, it's almost like the chi is really beaming out of the heart within a lot of, we could say, yoga practitioners or just meditators in general. It's giving us a maturity that we need to be able to create this planet Earth out of the stagnancy of whatever, and into the potential to resolve and to reach a conclusion, and therefore a rebirth. So it's like a transformation, and that comes directly through the creative impact that is birthed from learning how to mature your emotions, learning how to anchor your thoughts into your heart, that karuna mantra, and using the compassion to direct yourself in a manner that is powerful grace. Okay, and that's kind of the destiny. We don't need to basically lose all of our authenticity, lose all of our sense of worth to just get something, obtain something that really ultimately for a lot of us is not really it. It's just not really it, okay? So I wanted to make this video. It's not an astrology video. It's more of just like an energy, what was kind of going on, and we're moving forward. So what we see in like institutional settings, what we see in like business settings, when it comes, we were still in the patriarchal age, okay? So Green Tara and Lakshmi are wonderful examples of what we're heading into, particularly for women, and the birthing of new generations of creative expressions and lifestyle. But we are still in this this patriarchal routine when it comes to being desensitized in the heart chakra, okay, desensitized in the heart chakra and unable to connect to the range or the intellectual range as well as the emotional range of humanity. So when we get into like just life becomes this basic in a way that it lacks contrast and it lacks the diversity of its perception to actually create a simplified lifestyle. So it's interesting. So to be basic doesn't necessarily mean you're living simply. To be simple is you have created an innovation that is easeful. It's like it just natural, okay? Like creating a function that is like a renewal of resources rather than a depletion. A renewal resources implies that you have access to a range of intelligence and a range of motions, and you're pooling from those many facets of the mind as well as the many chambers of the heart to basically create a very high quality innovation that just easily works. So you're not having to, like, it breaks down, like what we're having right now. Like, things are just kind of, like, in many countries out of America, like, sometimes things just break down. Like, the energy just is not really a renewal. It's not really a longevity or consistency with it. Because we don't have the mind to be able to create an innovation. Okay, so basic mind is not necessarily a simplistic lifestyle. Okay, simplistic implying it's an easeful function that happens on its own because it has such a sophisticated foundation or sophisticated function that it just kind of goes and it's just easeful. And that's kind of like a mantra. It creates a momentum. Like Green Terra and Lakshmi, they represent like a matriarchal destiny or matriarchal period of time. And the reason it's still here on planet Earth, the vibration of it, because they had such a prevalence on the electromagnetic field of this planet that thousands of years could go by, but still their teaching, still their high quality function is here on this planet. So all of the functions we see right now, even in institutions, are just things that seem shaky. Because the patriarchal had such a shaky ida, which is like your ego, such a shaky, so shaky. Identity was just very had no foundation, meaning had no roots. Nothing without roots, nothing without like a soulful root. It's just shaky, it's imbalanced, it has nothing to connect to nourish itself. Nothing. So when it's not nourished, the ida becomes something that loses its purpose and its reason to be, and then it becomes mayhem, and it becomes a free-for-all, do whatever you want, kind of chaos. So with the Green Terra and Lakshmi, I can show you guys again. So the mantra that they have broadcast out through their lifetime, or lifetimes, I would say, because when we evolve into a higher state, like I said, when you become a simplistic mind, you are simple enough to be able to access the many range of intelligence and the of emotions where you're not getting entangled, knotted, divided, separate, and confused. It's very kind of clear because compassion is what makes things not entangled or just messy. Okay, so through that access, they were able to create a quantum leap or expedited evolution. Therefore, in a single life, they experienced, let's say, a multitude of lifetimes, okay, crossing through lifetimes of death and rebirth in their body, because they were not stagnant. They were not slow. Like the patriarchal was very much like a slow, very kind of sluggish energy, have no idea how to work the renewal system of your resource, which is your mind, body, and spirit. So with us and moving forward is we are just like caught in these pictures of these women. I was like entranced for a moment. I just lost my train of thought. I was just entranced by them. So the mantra, okay, and all of us have a soul mantra, and that soul mantra, it like gongs throughout every lifetime we've ever had on this planet Earth, from now all the way in the past and the future, and even when we're not in this physical form. And that mantra, that gongs out, is very much like these two guides, and what it's doing is the sensitivity of women being heightened. We're now able to access the mantras of these matriarchal ages that are very ancient to what we think is the time of Egyptians. So what that means is that we're finding in women particularly is that there is just new like teachings and tools and creative gifts and talents and expressions that seem foreign and unknown to this planet, that seem like it is a part of a totally different paradigm that just doesn't fit with the chronological time of Earth in the patriarchal perspective. It seems like it's just, where did that come from? It just came from nowhere kind of thing. So that's the sensitivity, the gift of having a sensitivity or empath. Yes, you have the emotional kind of junk that nobody worked through. It's like the trash yards and nobody cleaned because everyone's lazy kind of thing. Your ancestor Bill Bob was lazy and didn't want to do that, so left you to do it kind of thing. So basically, we are declogging our sensitivity body, which is our heart body, our emotional body. We're declogging so that we can receive the emotional nourishment of these gifts and talents that are now accessible through the sensitivity of our heart chakra, such as a lot of people are coming up with teachings and even businesses that are like healing, that involve like really ancient esoteric knowledge that just is like from nowhere. Like, where did that come from? It's all coming from within our body, within our heart chakra, our chambers. It's almost like we think of ancient Egyptian and we think of these chambers, and when you go into these chambers, it's like a chamber within a chamber, and there's these ancient knowledge, or like the chamber in the Sphinx's paw said to have ancient scrolls of like Lemurian Atlantis. So that's what happens when we as archaeologists meditate within ourselves, or become yogic scientists, and we meditate within ourselves and we unlock these chambers like the Sphinx paw, or even the Sphinx itself. We dig out all the sand and we find this ancient artifact, and what that does is it triggers a memory, and it triggers a lifetime that maybe we've had, or we've witnessed through being alive, or just being a spirit. And what that's doing is it's opening up a range of intelligence we need to resolve or to reach a conclusion with when it comes to the way we are living our life. So what that means overall is that the gifts and talents being awakened within our heart chakra, okay, while simultaneously we are declogging all of the junkyard nobody wants to clean emotional stuff, is we are creating room within our heart chakra to receive, we say, the massive download or the massive transmission that wants to come through us, such as the transmission of Green Tara and Lakshmi, that are such a powerful impact on the electromagnetic field of this planet, that they have true legacy, meaning true legacy can withstand time and space, can withstand the rise and fall of civilizations. Even if they disappear entirely, all of their knowledge, everything gets wiped out. Okay, such we've had a total civilization gone overnight, but it still is here because they prevailed over the electromagnetic field, and therefore is here now because of their true power. And that's the power the patriarchal was trying to obtain, such as King Charles I, King Charles II. But when we actually connect with those people, they're not going to withstand time and space. There is no longevity because they did not have any sort of creative impact or no impact. Okay, so just we're learning sitting on a throne and staring at the wall and just doing these little things here and there is not necessarily creative impact. So as women, we are connecting with what is a true and creative impact, and it's opening us up to these really ancient teachings and these really ancient tools and talents and gifts like Lakshmi and Granitara, even Krishna and things of that nature. And it's opening our range of intelligence, which we need, and giving us the creative download that can help us to actually invent out of kind of the lack of creative innovation that sometimes, the patriarchal has, and to create a new sort of relationship we have with resources, with education, with academy, with ideology, with religion. And that new relationship with a wider intelligence range, emotional range, is going to give us more of a renewal of resource rather than like a depletion. Like you use it, you throw it in the junkyard, and then the junkyard just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. That's a low intelligence level without the range of intelligence to find a way. It's like, find a way. You can find a way because you have it in your expansive mind. It just needs to have the heart space, or the compassion. It's like the heart is the key to unlocking. Okay, it's like the heart is the creative niche, like the key into the door, the creative niche that is able to connect with the many facets of the mind to find what it needs to resolve or reach a conclusion. So this is very much the message, and I hope that this has left an impact on you and kind of opened your mind to what's going on in the planet. So when it comes to women, and again, I talk a lot about the matriarchal period of time because it's something, a calling of mine. So with women, we are very much going to be helping men understand us, because men they don't have it in their system to be able to understand how dynamic a woman really is, how creative and how well-rounded a woman really is, because men just don't have that. They don't have that dynamic, almost like the 360 sense as women do. Okay, because women need that 360 sense, because we basically download children, and we make the children's their system. So we have to have a very dynamic, well-rounded, complex system to basically download these children into our wombs and into life. So we have to be very intuitive. We have to be very soulful and very creative to get a soul into a body out of our body, and then towards its destiny. So with the ancient spiritual teachings of this planet Earth being awakened in women, men are they don't understand because they just don't have it in them. And that's where the basic mind comes from. And I'm talking about basic as in like men's like you can only understand so much. And it goes above your head, and you just don't know how to process. So men, they have, we could say, they don't have a bigger capacity to process emotions such as women. So, saying, women, they have a larger capacity to process emotions. That's why the emotions of the world tend to go into the woman for her to digest and her to process, because she can actually process it all the way through, because her body was designed to basically process energy all the way through the system to its completion and to its transmutation, because that's her inherent gift, being a creation and giving birth to creation. So with men, a lot of in the patriarchal experiment or the ages, and we talk about the monarchs and even the Romans, all of that kind of, the Messians, basically it was very basic, okay, very basic understanding, very basic relationship, very basic connection. But what brought about the true heights of the patriarchal ages was culture and art. That brought about heights to the patriarchal, and then they kind of fell down again because they lost their creative niche, and then mayhem again, and disease, famine, and all that kind of stuff. So when we look in history, the periods that have the most impact, that stand out to us, even like in our intuition, for example, the Renaissance, even all over in like China, and even in, we could say, Greece or Spain, it's always been some sort of culture or art that left a creative impact and brought the people into a purposeful motion, meaning it gathered the community out of the mayhem of the caves of just sitting there not doing anything, just staring at the wall, and actually into using their mind, using their body, using their spirit to create something that brings beauty to life, that brings a sense of, we say, soul to life. And whenever there's not soul to life, that's when we experience what we call dark ages or deep dark ages, where we're really out of touch with life, okay? And then very destructive, and that destruction just creates all kind of disease and illness and so forth. So with the rise of the women out of, it's like the ash, okay? We're rising out of the ash, and we are being given our turn again to basically create our paradigm. So again, it's like a tag team with the men and women and stuff like that, and it's been going on for a long time on this planet. So the feminine influence doesn't necessarily mean it's women, it's also within men as well. Okay, so there's going to be a prominent feminine impact, meaning creative impact, and it can be coming from men such as Da Vinci, such as Nikola Tesla. They were men, but they had a very strong feminine energy in the way they were channeling like Green Terror or Lakshmi. They were channeling like a divine energy. Okay, that's feminine. That's a feminine paradigm. So for men, it's more so they are channeling basically the blueprints that they are given intuitively on how to the creative vision of the feminine side of them. It's like the blueprints, which is you're building, you're constructing, you're organizing, you're planning, you're delivering. So that's always been like the men, okay? And the woman is like the creative vision, and that creative vision needs a blueprint, or how is it going to happen? If it's all up in the universe and it's a cosmic vibrato, it needs an earthly blueprint, or it's some sort of idea that just can't come through. It just can't come through. And that's like Nikola Tesla. He had the vision, but he also had the blueprint within his masculine organization, building, planning, practicality, that knew how to get it into this world. So again, that's like the relationship with men and women when it's harmonious inside, internally, in a single person, or even in a community or collectively. So these energies of 2018, December, moving to 2019, 2024, 2030, 2033 kind of thing, is we're starting to see men are opening themselves up to women and the women's perspective, which is unseen and unheard of. Okay, but in time in various cultures or civilizations, when men have opened themselves up to a woman, just like a feminine energy, not necessarily a woman, but a feminine energy, basically that brought about a perspective or an innovation or creative sort of or intuition that basically helped civilizations get out of the deep decay or the destruction. A lot of times that's what helped them to not go so far where it's just like total mayhem and you cannot repair that. Okay, so with men is we are institutionally, when it comes to the patriarchal kind of Capricorn energy, is we are inviting these new ideas, such as we see on the internet. We see these TED Talks. It's very much like a feminine nature, which is about community, about relating to each other from compassion. That's feminine. Okay, so that's just one example. But it's using the intellectual Capricorn kind of institutional mindset, which is about structure, discipline, organization, plan, that kind of thing, we're using that kind of platform, but bringing forth this feminine like expansion and wanting to relate and wanting to connect and compassion and inclusion and share and care, okay? And that's what we're going to see more of. Okay, we're going to see more of that in our institutions. We're going to see more of a balance. So again, let's throw out the men. That's never the thing. It's let's create a balance between the structure, the institution, the plan, the organization, the build, the blueprint of the men, which is just like the basic blueprint. And let's color it, like coloring in the lines, expanding the lines, reorganizing the lines, and through a creative, intuitive knowing. Okay, because it's always been in a creative, intuitive knowing that brought us out of deep destruction or deep decay. It's never been just logic. Never. Okay, culture and art is not logic. It has logic, but it has a intuition. Like Pablo Picasso, it's very much intuition. Okay, like Da Vinci, it's very much intuition. Okay, logic through schooling and through science and through math, but intuition overall is what brought forth the main picture and what the vision is. Okay, so yes, I feel like this is all that I need to say at this time. Again, this is for your nourishment of your mind. So again, like with men, it's like women talking to you. If men just don't understand you, that's okay. Their system just is not a woman. They're not as dynamic as you. They're not as well-rounded. And that doesn't mean, they're less or anything like that. It just means that they have a function that's just not the function of giving birth to a very complex human being and their soul and their destiny, and having to get them organized and get them going in life. They just don't have that. It's just not their purpose. But with men and the maturity of men, okay, very important, the maturity of men, because a lot of it comes through your maturity as a woman. Okay, even the maturity of your children, or even the maturity of your spouse, it directly comes through the woman. So, and when we get strong electromagnetically, we can mature anybody. And it's not we are talking to them, we're disciplining them, we're like arguing with them, conflict. No, that's never been what got us mature, got others mature. It's never been conflict. It's been friction. Okay, friction, which implies you're sort of relating, you're coming to a mutual understanding, but it might not be a smooth mutual understanding. But that friction overall comes from the woman really maturing her emotional body. So not ignoring her emotions, oppressing herself. It comes through directly loving every aspect of herself. Because when we love every aspect of herself as a woman, we can unlock every aspect of ourselves. And when we're totally unlocked, that's when we can really sense the mantra of Green Tara, of Lakshmi, directly into our body, our cellular DNA, and begin to one day have visions or dreams of just tools or teachings or mantras that seem to not exist at this current time. But we receive it almost intuitively, like Nikola Tesla receiving all of these inventions just in his third eye or just in his meditation. That's what can come when we unlock our heart chakra, or the chambers within our heart. Like an archaeologist, you are digging, unlocking the chambers within certain, like the pyramids or something, and you learn something that brings a bigger picture to what's actually going on. So when the sand is covering up all of the mysteries of our being, and we're just living solely off of what somebody else says, then we lose our intuition. And therefore, what they say, if it's a man saying it and it's not really dynamic enough, then a lot of times it's not really honest. And therefore, leaves no impact, and it's probably not real. Okay, it's probably not real. So with us and relating to our men, it is not the conflict. Yes, there is friction because men, it's like, woo, you know, whoa, you know, but overall it is supporting the men, because the men need support. It's not going to work if it's just women. Okay, we have to support the men. We have to, basically just through our presence. I found the best way to mature anybody or to leave an impact on somebody is to just sit with them. Don't talk. It's not you have to talk, chat. No, it's just be yourself. Be creative, be magnetic, be radiant, just be yourself, and that enough. Just the energy of it inspires and brings a sense of purpose to men. Like, I want to be productive. I don't want to be mayhem, just sitting at the bar, staring at the wall. I don't want to do that because it's boring and it doesn't really I'm not led anywhere by that. I'm just led into the sinkhole of my stagnation. Okay? So, that's, yes. So, again, Green Terror and Lakshmi have so much knowledge to give to you all. And that's what happens when you work through your emotional junk, the junkyard nobody wants to clean. You clean it, and it's painful, okay? And there's junk and suffering and all of that. But it just makes you, it crystallizes your heart chamber. And when it's crystallized, you're able to easily receive like knowledge from your soul or knowledge from a cosmic soul, okay? And because you have the transparency of the heart, the cleanliness or the innocence of your heart to actually receive the original knowledge. We can distort it and twist it and turn it into all kind of wanky things, but that's why we have wanky bodies, because it represents kind of that we have wanky minds and we have wanky heart chakras and wanky auras. Okay, so wanky is not original knowledge, okay? So again, it's just, they're saying the process of Lakshmi and Green Terror when it comes to the mantra that can withstand time and space, it's remembered, it's felt now, even though it's, you know, it's been long, it's that the start of the matriarchal divinities way in the past, but it's here now. The creative impact they're saying is because they had a prevalence over the electromagnetic field of planet Earth, but they first had a prevalence of their own. So whatever's going on that seems kind of toxic or seems unstable or seems kind of conflicting or struggling, it's almost like Akbar. You have a prevalence over your electromagnetic field, so anything like hostilities are coming your way. It's not penetrating you in the way where you are getting and then losing your sort of focus. You become very focused because you have that sort of ability to not impenetrable, like to be impenetrable. And that, I feel like, is what we're working on, is kind of what yogis work on. Yogis, I'm talking about some real deep practices of like yogic science or yogic teachings. So what that means for our own selves, the power is being redefined. We're seeing power at a legacy as more so of a creative expression that brings about harmony and brings about balance, rather than a legacy that is just, you gain a lot of power, but you don't know how to circulate it, and therefore it collapses eventually. Okay, so yes. Anything else? Green Terror and Lakshmi. Again, it's like the men out there are kind of struggling. It's like the women are maturing and evolving, particularly like we say in the spiritual communities. Prominently, we see a lot of women or men that have a very strong like woman, feminine field. And it's like the men they feel like maybe left behind, okay? Not all, but, you know, certain men just feel left behind. Again, we are, as women, we represent inclusion, care, and share. So that means working with men is not talking them to death. It is including them in our meditation, sharing with them a revelation, and caring about their own process and letting them go through their own process and realizing that's their process. Okay. So this feels like the download. So thank you, and Satnam.